this speediness, this restlessness, this I pick up things too fast and they hear things too quickly, but they don't listen to it deeply. So whether it's education, whether it's talking, whether it's a nervous connection, restlessness, but that's there around the thinking and the making sense out of things. So the conjunction, it still has the nervous restlessness, but there's an ability to go for, I got to think something different. Oh, this is exciting. This is interesting. Oh, astrology. Oh, that's so different than my dad, the banker. But like, you can be a radical thinker. So someone will be thinking be radical, but that doesn't mean it fits in. If it's radical, it's on a direct collision course with the establishment. So when you have a mind that doesn't fit in, you have to find the things that reinforce the mind, the expressions, the art, the other things that reinforce that mind that aren't overly traditional. There's exceptional ways to reach somebody. So this is where you get into these other planets bring up special needs and special attentions and special idiosyncrasies, in this case about thinking or communicating. You know, in one's alertness in the moment, Mercury is really the alertness in the moment and then processing all the things that are happening. It's hard to stay alert in the moment because it's anticipating too fast. It's thinking about this thing, this thing, this, and it's hard to be exactly in the moment because the speed gets them thinking ahead and then, oops, I didn't see that. Oh, I said that. I'm sorry, I said that. Like it just destabilizes the Mercury. It's simple. And there's probably many other ways you could elaborate and say it. But on a very simple level, it's just an instability to Mercury. So that person might have had to change schools, or they moved, their families moved countries, and they had to learn a new language, or just things changed. Changing from one teacher to the next, trying to, there'd be somewhere. I mean, if it's a kid, they're still going to have their interests, their things. It's just when you try and get them to study or concentrate, they're high-wired, they're not stable. Both Uranus Moon and Uranus Mercury kids, you're not going to give them a Coke or a sugar drink or sugar. They're already so hyped up. They would be super overreactive. You want them to wind down, it's going to be hard to wind them down, hard to get them to sleep. All of these things could be sleeplessness, restlessness, both in the Uranus to the Moon and Uranus to Mercury. The challenge comes in bringing up a kid with it, how to deal with it, okay, that's them, how do we deal, how do we navigate? You have to learn other ways of approaching this to get them to fall asleep, to get them to wind down. You're certainly not going to allow them to get excitable or be watching TV to the last minute before they go to bed. In today's world, you put them on the computer games and they get lost in it, but they come out of it. It's not that they're not thinking, they're thinking faster and it's more restless and tends to be a little less stable. It still can be very insightful. When they're anxious, there may be valid reason why they're anxious. When they're anticipating things, they may be very real in what they're anticipating. It's still only not making things easier in the moment. So you take that from a home situation, you put that into a high school situation, you put that into a marriage situation or a working situation, you start to see how that factor is going to be there, and they'd have to learn how to not express themselves or express their worry too much. If they did, it would start upsetting other people. As soon as it did, their history. And they wouldn't understand necessarily why. But at the same time, it's something other people have, lots of people have it. So there's other people who'll be around to think like that too, that's normal. You're the definition of it. If you have it, you'll see that instantly. You'll see how you navigate it, I mean, many people have this, they live their full life, and what they accomplish, what they didn't. You know, they may have been really intelligent and never really put the book together. You know, or someone may be thinking for them, or they're thinking for everyone. Like, it can come out in many different ways, this anxiety. When it's a good aspect, when it's a conjunction, the excitement is having to think innovatively, really innovatively, but even that, unstable. But can be really breakthrough. It can come through as a breakthrough at the squares of opposition, but it's really a breakthrough at the conjunction because you're really forced to think differently and you're on your own thinking, making sense out of things. That doesn't mean putting up with teachers is any easier. When it's a sextile or trine, you might just say there's a smoothness. It's not that excitement is not going to be a disruptive factor to the mind. It can take in unconventional content or instabilities in stride if it's a sextile or trine. If there's no aspect, it still naturally can adjust to these things. It doesn't become as extreme. But if you have the aspect, it's easy to get set off. Like if my sister had that, or one of my brothers, I'd probably pick on them and they'd be sitting and I'd be making fun of them and picking on them when I was a kid to play on the reaction. Just because they were getting under their skin. And we're dealing with Moon, Mercury. These are inner things. You have to know the person closely to begin to see it, and then you begin to see how they dealt with it. And now I'm always learning things from people. Oh, they have that aspect, and they dealt with it this way. Oh, look at that. They've done this thing. But if they did it, they would have to overcompensate the worry side, the anxiety side of Uranus, and break away and think for themselves anyways. Okay, so Uranus to Mercury, it's mental attitudes that are changing. That's hard to see. Uranus to Moon, fairly easy to see. Uranus to Venus, when it's unconventional emotions, shocking, exciting emotions, when it hits your values and your emotions, the conjunction, I got to be different. I got to be different. Well, having to be different, having to be innovative can be a positive or a negative factor. I got to be different. Nobody likes me. I'm never going to fit in. I don't want these things. I don't want these things. I got to break away from this. I got to break away from that. And they're going to attract unconventional things. They'll look for when they were born, there was financial and emotional instability. The parents were either breaking up or on the verge of it, or they were moving, or they weren't really in very good emotional connection. The baby came in, it was a shock, and nobody knew how to emotionally deal with things. So Uranus to Venus, that means any of these Uranus to inner planets can mean the family wasn't that stable, but Uranus to Venus, the emotions weren't that stable. If your mother wasn't being reinforced or wasn't secure when she's having the baby, she has to heal herself after she has the baby. And there's all these change points. She just has to do whatever she can. It's not like she has the extra time to just really dote on the kid. So Venus is your emotions, your appreciation, your self-worth. So if you have your self-worth is nervous, it's got to be different. I got to be different. This is innovative, or that's boring. Like Venus is never indifferent. It's like, I love this, I hate this. I want this, I can't stand that. I love you, I hate you. I just give me, get lost. So it's magnetism. So this Uranus adds an anxiety or an unconventionalness to the magnetism. So it can attract things very suddenly. It can lose things very suddenly. So Uranus, Venus, it doesn't mean you can't have relationships. It just means you can worry about having a relationship, till finally someone suddenly, shockingly comes in and there's the relationship. You're doing a relationship, now you have the relationship, you worry about losing it, till you almost drive it away. So I know people have had this, have been together 10, 20 years, but when it starts suddenly, unexpectedly, but it ends unexpectedly and suddenly. But it could be a long time being together where that's an anxiety factor. Okay, you're going to work, I'll take care of them, I won't do my artistic thing. Or I have to do my artistic thing, and I can't take care of the kids that much. Or like what you want or what you think you can get, when you have Uranus hitting them, when you don't, the normal things aren't going to work. You're not going to get the normal things that people have, the normal appreciation. Whether it's because of parents away or suddenly when you were born, but there's anxiety around your emotions and what you want and what you like. You have an instinct of I'm not valuable enough. I can't do this enough. Like, so it makes someone very restless. But it's destabilizing your emotions, your choices you make in your life. So you make sudden choices. You may make reckless choices. You're not going to attract conservative partners. And then at the same time, because that nervousness or restlessness is there, it's going to be hard to find stable careers that bring you steady income. At the same time, it would be easy to sell you insurance because you're worried someone's, oh yeah, maybe I better get this, I better get this. But it's like, I want this. As soon as you don't want something, it becomes intolerable to want it anymore. As soon as you make a choice, well, I don't want that anymore. I want to change the choice. So there's a lot of spiritual growth with the Uranus, Venus. These other planets, they do work kind of like demons or angels. They're kind of forces that pull you out of the norm. And usually it can be very extreme if you're very attached to the world, but I think they're meant to bring us a little closer to spiritual thinking or inner thinking or not normal thinking. But that doesn't mean it can't be more healing things, but you just can't rely on others. So with Venus, we want to be reliable. We want to feel loved. We want to feel we have what we want. We want the home, the kids, the partner, the wife, the husband. We want these things. But with Venus, at what cost? I gotta have this, we gotta get this now, we gotta buy this house, we gotta do this now, and not everybody's together on it. So you could get something and a partner may not be stable around money or emotions, or you may not. So there's so you don't know what it is if you're looking at someone's chart. You see it there. And you see, how did they deal with it? They still have to make the Venus work in the sign to build up the quality of the sign, to make choices that evolve the sign that it's in all the categories. They still have to express it into the houses as best they can, but they're doing it with an anxiety, a nervous restlessness coming down on it. Instantly, I better get this now because I may never get it. Or, oh, why bother? I'm never going to get that. It's not stable. So someone has Uranus, Venus, they're not stable in receiving love, in receiving appreciation. So they could accept something and then accept something, and then a few months later, I don't want this. What am I doing here? And you can feel stuck in it, but you're still feeling insecure. The person thinks something, I do something wrong, how come? So it's easy to pull away from, to indulge one's emotions and pull away from it. So make sure this anxiety makes your emotions a little less sincere, a little less stable. And when you're trying to be with someone, it makes it more awkward to determine what do you accept, what don't you accept. And so again, if you have the Uranus square to Venus, it weakens it. It's not your strongest suit in your life. So often there'll be disruptions or anxieties of not getting what you want or not being appreciated. I mean, technically, Uranus square Venus, traditionally you look up in the books, it's the bankruptcy or the divorce aspect. You get married, it breaks up, or you get divorced, or something like it's unstable finances. It's interpreted on a very mundane level. On a personal level, it's just this anxiety, and you think this will solve the anxiety. I'll do this and it'll be more stable. You get there, and if it's stable in one way, it's going to be unstable in another. You could be with someone that ends up rich, but you end up not wanting to touch each other. You get someone you really can touch each other well, but they can't pay the rent or anything like that. So these are just examples of this